Can you hear me now? All right. So I've never actually run ALCC before. Our retired district superintendent always ran it. Our new district superintendent gave us responsibility to go for it. Typically, I wouldn't run it this late in June, but we had COVID-19, kind of threw us off a little bit. But I want to start with an opening devotional coming from Joshua chapter 1. The Israelites are getting ready to take over the promised land, and they've been led by Moses, and Moses has passed away, and now Joshua is the man who's in charge. And as he's getting ready to meet before him, the angel of the Lord's army comes and meets before Joshua and kind of gives him some challenges. But he goes, "This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And that's kind of our mission that I always want us to take. I always want us to be strong. I always want us to be taking on new ground. I don't want us to be retreating. I always want to go forward. And so spiritually at times, it's easy for us to take a back seat. It's easy for us not to get in the Bible, not to read, not to pray. But I think God's calling us to go a little bit deeper. I was on a video conference call with the Dr. Reverend Smith. And he said, I feel God is calling us to a deeper sense of prayer. And it was so funny because I immediately messaged him when he said that. I go, that's what God's been speaking to me over the last couple of weeks, and he's calling us into a deeper sense of prayer. Praying for everything that's going on in the world. I did not grow up in the 60s, so everything that we're facing this year is new to me. I asked my mom, because she did grow up in the 60s, what was it like to live like that? And she said it was different than it is nowadays, because then when something would happen, they would find out about it a week later, 2 weeks later. Now when something bad happens out, I find out about it instantaneously. All that to be said, we live in a world that's broken and torn apart, and we are called by God to be strong and courageous and take his message out there and his word out there. And that's what I want to challenge us tonight. If there's anything you can take from what we do at Connect Church, it's we are going forward. We are courageously moving forward. I'm going to lead us in prayer tonight, and then we'll jump into the State of the Future address. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this time, God, that we can be together. I thank you for these people who have sold themselves to this church, God, who've signed up and said they're all in. And I pray, God, that you would continue to bless them, continue to use them, God. I pray for Connect Church, that we would be a light, that we would create transformational moments within our city and all around. I pray for those that are looking for a place, God, to belong, looking for a place, God, to connect, they would find us. I pray for those who are spiritually disconnected, God, and they are looking for hope. I pray, God, that they would find us and we would find them. And I pray, God, that you would just move in a mighty way tonight. We pray this in your holy name. Amen. So guys, just real quick, you guys know that I love charts and numbers. And if you're looking at the first page, the future of the local church address, and you're like, hey, we're missing some numbers there because COVID happened and the Wesleyan Church said, hey, we're only measuring numbers to the end of February. And so if you're looking at that saying, why do we only have 3 quarters when we should have 4 quarters? That's why. But this has been the craziest year ever. We've seen some tremendous things happen this year. Even the last 3 months have been anything but normal, yet God continues to move. So many great things have happened this year, and I want to take a moment to show us where we've been so that we can clearly see where we are going. Let's look at the numbers. Worship attendance, we averaged 108 this year. That's a 23% increase over last year. Epic averaged 19 this year. That's a 58% increase over last year. Children's Church averaged 20. That's a 5% increase over last year. And our tithes and offerings is a 52% increase over last year's giving. And I want you to know, when COVID hit, My prayer life went like this. God, those people who've been so faithful to give their first fruit to you, I pray, God, that right now you would bless them and protect them from the economic tsunami that's coming. And I prayed over you. I prayed over what you've entrusted to God. It was frustrating to change everything last quarter. We were planning on a huge Easter, but had the nick. So let's look back at what we did this year. Just a side note on the Easter event, we had an amazing staff meeting in which we got together and said, this is what Easter's going to look like. We bought postcards to send out. We had invitations to send out. We were going all in that it was going to be the biggest Easter ever. And the postcards went out shortly after. The postcards went out before, but people received them after the lockdown went into effect. And I had 3 or 4 phone calls of people asking me if I was crazy. And I called them back and said, these were paid for months ago, and they just went out because that's what they do. But all that being said, in July, we celebrated 20 years of ministry in Ponca City. Thank you, church, so much for making this amazing day. We had 153 come and celebrate with us. To look back on and think that 3 years ago, I was frustrated and asked the board if I was the right person to continue to lead this church. What I've learned in 20 years is that I have to keep growing, keep learning, keep evolving as a leader and as a pastor. Also in July was Vacation Bible School. Our numbers weren't as high as we thought they would be. We learned that we needed to use more avenues to communicate to our community about VBS. We had an AC unit die during VBS. Never a good time to die. I left for district conference not knowing how we were going to replace it. I spent many hours with Alan and Kevin trying to figure out how we were going to fix it on a shoestring budget. In August, we replaced the AC unit. Praise God, A1 Heating and Air came in and they quoted us a unit for $5,000. Everything I was looking at online was saying that that unit should be like $8,000 to $8,500. They said, we'll install it and everything for $5,000. Because of the faithful people in this room and others, $8,300 came in for the AC unit. It was such a blessing, guys. I don't share financial burdens with my wife because it stresses her out more than it does me. But I want you to know there were many nights where I laid in bed going, where are we going to get this money from? And I was thinking of legal ways of getting it. They were all legal. Luckily, we didn't have to form the Pastor Mark pyramid scheme. And I love you guys. Thank you so much. I sleep very well now. In September, we had our Back to Church Sunday. We had 134 in attendance. We served food outside, played outdoor games, had a great time. In October, we hosted our first ever women's conference. It was an exciting time. Dennis Wines made some amazing food, and him and Shane served amazingly to the women that were there. Terry helped put everything together. Thank you, Terry, for getting that put together and making it a huge event and a fun time. In November, we brought back our Thanksgiving family dinner. We had 148 in attendance, and it was truly fun and exciting. As a note, we need more tables and chairs to continue to do exciting dinners in the future. In December, we had our children's program, A Country Christmas. Thank you, Terry Bush, for writing, directing, and producing our program this year. Thank you, Alan, Kenita, and Autumn, for your lead roles in the program. And also, thank you to our Connect kids who did an amazing job. In January, our new youth pastor, Connection pastors, moved to Ponca City. You guys are so amazing, and I want you to know, I want to brag on you guys a little bit. They're doing a great job. You don't always see the work that they do. But like Jamie said on Sunday, when you have a child in the youth group and they're excited about what's going on in youth, and when you walk by their room at night and they're reading their Bible, and then they ask you, hey, did you know it says this in Romans? Did you know it said this in Romans? you know that we've got some winners there. Thank you, Kenneth and April, so very much. I have no clue where I am now. Oh, thank you, Ashley, for letting them stay with you for 4 months. Yeah. She's like, my name's there. Talk about me. And I know it was a struggle having them live with you and put up with their antics, but we appreciate it so much. Yeah. Yes. I know I did put it on there, stay there. Also, thank you, Dennis and Ashley, for getting their offices ready. Dennis spent many hours on his knees in Kenneth's office, probably praying as well as laying floor. In February, we celebrated the Super Bowl Sunday, 131. It was so much fun. It always is. Epic averaged 29 in February, and Kenneth was off to the races. Then, COVID-19. In March, we transitioned from worship in person to online worship experience. We started with Terry's iPhone on the front row. Then we moved to a Mevo. One night we even recorded it on Saturday night and premiered it on a Sunday morning so that we could get the lyrics in there. The district came in and gave us a huge boost. They gave us a grant to upgrade our video software and get everything going. And so the district granted us $2,500. We were in a financial position to add on to that. So for about $5,000, we were able to do all the amazing stuff. You've watched, I know Chris has been watching online, and he said we went from Cracker Jack to professional in within a month's time, and it's been exciting. In April, we did drive-in church. This was fun, but it was also labor-intensive. And set up the stage, sound equipment, computers, and video cameras. In May, we came back into the building. Our attendance on site is still running about 60% of normal, but our online presence has truly grown. I was in Lowe's one day. A guy walked up to me and said, "Mark, I really enjoyed your sermon on Sunday. I've been watching you online during the pandemic, and I've never met this man before." In fact, Jack asked me when he walked away, "Hey, Dad, who's that?" I'm like, "I have no clue. I've never seen him before." God is still at work. We continue to encourage people to jump in the Transformer track, and later this year you'll hear more about how you're going to use it in our discipleship pathway. So here's the great thing about the Transformer track. When someone says to me, "I asked Jesus in my heart, what's next?" we will have a place to plug them in and get them involved. Step 1, connect. Step 2, develop. I want to get involved in ministry. What's next? Attend the Transformer track. Step 3, serve. And then finish up with Transformer track by attending step 4, lead. This year, we're going to be intentional about our leadership pipeline. Not only do we want to have a leadership team that helps us chart our direction, but I'm also recruiting others to join our dream team. This is a team to pray and help us cast vision and truly seek the face of God. I want to continue to invite you to join me on Wednesdays, one night a month. Become the best possible life-transforming church that we can become. Our leadership team is also going to be discussing this as well. And on that Wednesday night, we call that Amplified Leadership. It's a great time. Terry threw something out there on Facebook. One of our amazing Christian people, I just wanted her to share what she texted me last night as well as what she put on Facebook, and I love this. She goes, "I remember sitting in the pews at church, at the old church, and you would be preaching, and you'd be talking about God's grace." This is Tammy Cunningham. She goes, "I would think I need grace and how I can get some of that grace. Why don't God give me grace?" It took me 5 years to Google the word grace, and I found out the definition was. I found grace meant spiritual healing. Laugh out loud. God has given me that grace. I wanted so bad, and it's far better than whatever magical thing I thought it was in the beginning. I was at a church last night with 3 sponsees. She started a Alcoholics Anonymous group at our church. She's now sponsoring 3 young ladies. And I never would have thought I'd be trying to teach someone about God. And she just talked about how much she loves Connect Church. You see, God is calling us as a church not to be satisfied with the status quo. God's calling us as a church not to simply look out at the world and try to put a Band-Aid on any problem we find out there. God is calling us to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is sin. And if we can hit people and we can create transformational moments, if we can get that sin issue taken care of, then everything else in their lives will go far better. But it's that sin issue. And it's always been sin. I read a great meme last night that said if Adam and Eve were Cajun, they would have eaten the snake instead of the apple, and we would still be in the Garden of Eden. Of course, we'd all be speaking Cajun too, so. You know me, and you know that I'm goal-oriented and a goal-driven person. Through February, we've averaged 108 in worship. Let's go for the goal this year and challenge ourselves to grow by 20%. I'm not sure how this will look with COVID-19. The Wesleyan Church, we're still not sure how we track online attendance and how that looks coming in. They're still trying to flesh all of that out. And I'm not sure the complexity of how we will measure our online presence or attendance. But if we grow by 20%, that means we'll average 130. You may look at this number and think that that's not high enough, and you're probably right. However, it's going to take us inviting our friends, relatives, acquaintances, and neighbors. It's going to take 20 to 30 of us coming together on one Wednesday night a month to grow spiritually, personally, and as leaders. It's going to take us seeing 40 people saved, 20 people baptized, 20 new people involved in ministry, and 15 brand new members. And by the way, we had our largest ever incoming membership class this last year at Connect Church. And it has been a blast. Our nation is in desperate need of revival. Churches have gone cold. They're chasing symptoms instead of the cure. We need fire from the fall from heaven, and we need it to consume us. There was a hymn that they sing back in church. I have no clue how it goes. But it was the hymn was How the Fire Fell. And I remember flipping through, because I'm a little bit of a pyromaniac, and I'm flipping through, I'm like, hey, fire in church, that'd be awesome. And my mom would flip the page, she goes, not really. But we need spiritual fire from God. God has opened the door to the promised land, but he doesn't just want us to survive here. God is calling us to thrive. It's going to take commitment, work, risk, and prayer. I have several people pray over me during the last 6 to 8 months, each giving me the same word from God. Get ready. God's getting ready to blow off the lid. When we talk about commitment, it's going to take our church stepping up to the plate and being a tithing church. Hey, guys, as you can see from earlier in the report, we are knocking that out of the park. It's such a blessing to not worry about finances, just worry about people coming in and hearing the message. And I love hearing your stories of how God is using you. Thank you guys so very much. It's going to take us returning to God's resources to him so that we can inherit the promised land. You guys are standing in the promised land. I don't know if you get that enough, you understand that enough. There are times where I'm just in awe of where God has brought us. To think that when Terry and I came here, and Carla was here 21 years ago, we were a church of 22. And to say that we were going to move into a facility 5 times our size, nobody ever even thought that was a possibility. We just wanted to know if we could fill the room. The other funny thing, I don't know if you remember this, Carla, or not, but 22 people in the sanctuary, and nobody sat like close to each other. We had social distancing going on. And it was so funny to walk up there and say, there's 2, there's 2, there's 2, there's 2. Oh, but God has been so faithful to us. He really has. Another aspect of commitment is getting involved in ministry. We currently have great people involved in ministry at Connect Church. And I will go through and thank them a little bit later, but we have some opportunities to shine. Right now, we're looking for some help in Children's Church. Pastor Allen and Kenita have just stepped down and pray for them. We were, last Wednesday, him and I spent some extra time together, and he was hobbling quite a bit. And so on Sunday morning, he came in and he was not hobbling so much. It truly was a blessing to see that he was walking better on Sunday morning. And I just, thanks be to God on that. We're doing a virtual vacation Bible school this year, and you'll be hearing more about what that looks like. But it gives you the opportunity, if you want to, you can open up your house to have some neighborhood kids come in there. We'll give you all the packets. We'll get all the videos to you online, and it's going to be a great time. Grounds team, working with Joe Hill. He loves the grounds. He does a great job. Outreach, security, Sunday school, prayer and follow-up. If you want to get involved, talk to Pastor April and said, how can I get hooked up? How can I get involved? And she will find a place for you to get involved in ministry. But God is calling us to be strong and courageous. I quoted this earlier. God says, be strong and courageous because you will lead this people to inherit the land I swore to their forefathers to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Do not let the book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night so that you'll be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. If you want a great book for your teenage son to read, Joshua's right there. It's an amazing book because all they do is go out and fight battles and win, except for AI. Our mission is helping people connect to a loving God, connect to other people, connect to an abundant life. And our core values help to guide us, reaching the lost, creating transformational moments, building a next generation church. Here's what I'm excited about. While I'm sad that Alan and Kenita are stepping down from Children's Church, I'm excited to recruit new people to find their mission and dream in connecting kids to Jesus Christ. This year, we're going to emphasize the redesign of the Children's Church areas, to purchase a 12-month curriculum, and to continue to grow this ministry. I'm excited about Epic, and Pastor Kenneth is going to come up here. He's going to share a little bit about Epic. But before COVID-19, it was off and running. But now we can get back on track. Kenneth has come on staff this year. He's going to be a half-time pastor instead of just a volunteer with a parsonage. He has put a lot of sweat equity into getting the room ready by knocking out a wall and designing a stage area. He's busy recruiting youth sponsors so that Epic can continue to grow. And here's Pastor Kenneth now.
So he told me I had 2 minutes. I told him 30, right? No, I'm just kidding. So Pastor Mark asked me to come here and just kind of cast vision for what I feel like I'm being led to lead this next year, what our goals are as a youth group. From day one, the number one thing I said to our students is I don't want to have a boom in numbers. I want to build a foundation. Because when you build a foundation with your students and you teach them how to love God, you teach them how to build their relationship with God, their friends are going to follow. Numbers are not important to me. If I have 16 great students that are on fire for God, everything else will follow. And I'm going to tell you right now, we have 16 great students that are falling in love with God and they're following, doing right things. Pastor Mark's not exaggerating when he says students reading their Bible. I have students texting me and asking me questions. Students asking me questions like, I need to look that up and research that a little bit. I mean, it happens. So my vision with 2020, the rest of 2020 through 2021 is this. Build a foundation with your students. And here's the reality. I can only do so much as the youth pastor. It starts at home. You parents, guardians, whoever you are, one of my goals in 2020 through the rest of this year is to equip you to be able to be successful parents at home. It's not easy teaching your kids how to live what the Bible tells them to do in this year, day and age, because everything in culture teaches them everything different. Everything they see on TV, everything they hear on the radio, everything they hear at school is completely different than what the Bible tells them. And so one of the things that we want to do is we want to meet with you parents on a quarterly basis as a youth pastor with the students, so you guys know what we're pouring into your students. You know what we're teaching them, but also equipping you so that you can reinforce that at home. We want to be on the same page. It does not take two people to raise a teenager in the world. It takes a village. It takes all of us. It takes everyone here to love God. We got some cool events planned for this year. They're excited about it. If you have not got with me yet, If I don't have your phone number, I want to add you in the parents group so you're getting our daily text message so you know what's coming on. So they're not saying, hey, the midnight before the day of, hey, I need $50 for this event. You know a couple months in advance. But my goal for this next year is to build a foundation your kids can stand on and be proud of. A foundation that a lot of our teenagers in this world, they don't get. We want them to be able to stand in their schools and be like, I love Jesus, and I know why I love Jesus. We don't want our teenagers saying, we love Jesus because my parents told me to. We want our teenagers to say, we love Jesus because Jesus loves me. And so my goal in this next year is to build a foundation, and we're going to see great things happen.
We're excited about Next Generation Ministries because, like it or not, they're the future and they're the present. And they're going to lead us to reach so many more people. And I'm excited about watching them grow and watching them flourish. I'm excited also about our worship band. I have visitors tell me all the time that our band connects them to God. I want to give a shout out to our band: Terry Bush, Ashley Logan, Carla Moulton, April Osler, Kevin Stanton, Eric Cunningham II, Matthew Williams, Mike Logan, and Brad Matson. Our women's ministry is going amazing, and thank you to Janice Searle for leading this ministry, and thank you to Jennifer Ball for opening up her home so the ladies can go there on Monday nights. And then thank you, Terry Bush, for setting up women's Zoom meetings during the quarantine time. And that was a huge success, and so many great things happened through that. Thank you so much, Terry. Our men's ministry is special. Thank you, Dennis Wine, for pushing to make this great. Woo! 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was sitting probably where David's sitting, and they were talking about what they wanted to do as a men's ministry, and God told me something special is getting ready to happen to this group. And they want to go out and they want to add sweat equity in people's homes, and they want to help extend the reach of Connect Church, just reach out and just be the love of God. And it's so amazing to watch these men come together and to watch them grow. And as a special shout out, tomorrow night they're having lasagna. So it pays to be a man. But thank you to the men that show up weekly to go deeper. And it is so amazing and so exciting what God is wanting to do. Let's talk about reaching the lost. Let me lay out some generic plans that I'm asking you to join us in praying for God's direction. There are new builds going up in our neighborhood, and to go along with it being the most unreached neighborhoods in our city, the gold is waiting to be mined. Connect Church can make a difference in Ponca City for generations to come, with everyone using their gifts and passions. This year, we need to develop people. We're going to model what a Christ follower leader looks like by modeling growth. We're going to mentor new Christ followers and leaders in our church, and we're going to multiply and take the harvest for Jesus Christ. When Kenneth is talking about building a foundation, he's wanting to release student leaders into our middle school and high school to take them back for Jesus Christ. Did it just get darker in here? Okay, no problem. Here are the big Sundays at Connect Church this year. Back to Church Sunday, September 20th. Children's Christmas program this year is going to be on the great day of December 13th. Football Sunday is February 7th. Easter is April 4th. And Mother's Day is May 9th. These are going to be events that we want you to invite your friends, relatives, neighbors, and acquaintances to join you and to find true connection in Jesus Christ. If I try to thank everybody, I'll forget someone. But I want to thank our teams that are leading us to greatness. I want to thank our First Impressions team. I also want to thank our security team. Kelly does a great job of making sure that we are safe on Sunday morning, and that is important. Our audio-visual team, which is growing and doing great things and troubleshoot at the drop of a hat. And with the new stuff that we've brought in, it expands what the audiovisual team has to do. And thank you, Wendy and your team, and people just jump back there and learn these new things. You guys are doing a great job, and thank you for Pastor Kenneth for learning how to do video, and he trained my wife, and now she's doing video. So if you're watching online and I look a little fuzzy, it's Terry's fault. I'm kidding. She's doing a great job. She always does. I know. I want to thank our Epic team, people that volunteer and come in to make sure that Epic runs great. Every connector for making Connect Church truly an amazing place to be on Sundays. When people come to me and say, it felt like home, I'm like, wow, there's something special about that. Our church has been truly amazing this year. They've helped me more than words can say. With the influx of new people and more being demanded of my time, every single board member has stepped up to the point to help carry the load. It was really sad this year to lose Margaret Yates. Margaret was such a lady that encouraged us every step during the journey. She was the only member to have had her membership in all three of our church buildings, 411 West Highland, 303 East Brookfield, and 1101 West Grand. She was a prayer warrior, a worker, a financial supporter. Her and Gary oftentimes gave sacrificially to keep the doors of our church open. She was a friend, and she is missed dearly. I want to take a moment to thank the most important people in my life, Terry, Jack, and Lance. Terry continues to add job responsibilities. She contacts every first-time guest. She plans our vacations and refreshing getaways. You may not realize this, but Terry is fun and exciting to be around, and she makes our family great. Jack, I love watching you grow up. Before the pandemic, I was taller than you. Now you're taller than me. You love Connect Church so much. You tell your friends how amazing our church is. And when you're gone from church, you want to watch it on Facebook. You make Connect Church great. Lance, you are wonderful, loud, but wonderful. You're still not convinced that Connect Church is better than Brookfield. You keep telling us that you didn't want to leave Brookfield. You get overexcited during worship and you want to shout during every single song, even the prayer songs when you're standing in front of Jamie Wines that cause her to jump, scared. Sorry, Jamie. It's great watching you grow. I know that you're not perfect, but I also know you're growing. Next year is going to be a great year at Connect Church. Thank you, Pastor Mark. We're going to show a video real quick from our DS, Dr. Devin Smith. But before we show that, okay, good, we're back on. I just wanted to once again say thank you to Alan and Kanita and their investment in our kids. And they've been the children's pastor for the last 5 years. And seen a lot of great things happen down there with our kids. And thank you guys so very much. Now let's hear from Dr. Devin Smith.
Good evening, Connect Church. Devin Smith here, District Superintendent of the Tri-State District. Hope each of you are doing well. In light of the fact that I'm not able to be at your local church conference tonight, I thought I would just send a quick video just to say, way to go. What a strong year you have had. Wow, in the midst of the incredible struggle that we've had with COVID-19 in the last quarter, all the way to just relocation of a new building and just in the past couple years, and just showing your grit and your faith and your confidence and your courage to reach new territories, do new things for God. Wow, what an example you have been for me and for our district. Just watching and listening and learning from your pastor and his family, and just being able to visit. You know, Annette and I were there when you first started, shortly after you started opening up for your drive-in services, and just what a tremendous testimony to the community. Thank you for having the courage to meet and to love and to just honor the government that suggested we step back for a little bit during the COVID-19 and meet, but then also pushing through and loving people. Wow, what a tremendous year you guys have had as well. Just thinking about what it means to be the body of Christ, coming together, loving together, hearing stories about how much you enjoy being with each other. You're not ashamed to invite people to church. You want to invite people to church. Just little things like that just go a long way as we think about what does it mean to be the body of Christ in our country and in our world. Man, you guys have come a long way, and you got a long way to go in terms of growth and potential and influence in Ponca City and beyond. And I'm just so excited. I'm sorry I'm not able to be there. Annette and I are sorry, but we do bring our greetings, and we do want you to know that we pray for you, and we're excited for what God is doing. Even as I talk to your pastor weekly and hear the updates, he's always bragging on something that's going on with the Connect family. And I always look forward to my conversations with Pastor Mark, because I know that he loves you and you love him, and I know that it has been a tremendous honor to be a part of that. So if there is anything that I can be praying for you about, I look forward to hearing more stories. Sorry we're not able to have district conference this year, but we do have it set up for next year. July 16th through the 18th is going to be the new date, so mark that down, of 2021, July 16th through 18th, and then we'll come together and really celebrate. But I look forward to the next time I'm able to visit and be there, and just praising God for each one of you. Continue to walk with God, continue to honor him, and continue to listen to his Holy Spirit as he teaches us and guides us. Love you guys, and so excited again.
It's so great having Dr. Devin Smith. It's so great having Dr. Devin Smith as our district superintendent. We were with some friends a couple weeks ago, and she looked across the table at me. She goes, "Do I sense a bromance going on with you and the new DS? But I want you to know, Devin is the real deal. And it's so awesome to be around him. And every time I'm around him, I'm like, what else can I do to reach people for Jesus? And he encourages me, and what can I do to help people grow? And I'm excited about what's going on. I meant for this chart to be on the bottom of my thing, but something happened between me sitting it through the printer and it printing off. But you'll see there's a single page right here with just a chart on it. And that just shows over the course of 21 years how God has blessed us and how God continues to bless us. Of the 22 people that we started out with, probably I've done 16 funerals. A couple have left, but most of them are with Jesus now. And Gary and Carla are our remaining people who've been here before Terry and I got here. So they should have a medal of honor or something for that. Yes, for putting up with me. So did everybody sign in back there in the membership list? Your name signed? Awesome. Hey, Kenneth, can you bring that list up here to Carrie? Because we need to find out what number of members that we have present and everything. And so while he's doing that, Ashley's going to come up and she's going to share with us. She's going to highlight the budget proposal that we have before us.
Hey, everyone. So I'm the treasurer, if you didn't know. I don't really do anything but what Pastor Mark and I discuss, and I put it on this piece of paper and his help, and I'm just going to tell you about it. So it's kind of broke down in columns. So at the end of 2020 fiscal year, that's what we were at with all of the budgets and stuff set inside in that first column. The second column is what our budget was that we set for 2020, which was last year this time. And then our new budget, which is for 2021. It has some increases because we're growing and needing to do more and be better and all that stuff. Yeah, it's exciting. I will say that our budget 2020 was the first time we ever had a budget over $100,000. And if you can see, in 2020, we brought over what we even budgeted for. And so we weren't even sure we were going to meet budget because it was over $100,000. We have never reached that goal. And when we met $100,000, we were like, what is this? And so it's like super exciting. Budget or like laying out money and planning ahead. You never know, kind of like COVID-19, you never know what's going to get thrown at you. So these budgets are there to kind of go as a guide, but if we don't use that money for certain things, it's fine. If we need more, we do with what we have and stuff like that. So I think all of your columns are highlighted in the new budget that we have that are our highlights that we're going to go over. So the housing allowance went up. That is due to Mark and Terry moving and having a housing allowance, and then I don't know if that includes, I can't remember if that includes the parsonage. That bracket is not
No, that's just for
the pastors
housing.
moving.
Yep.
So then our custodian is going up as well because the youth room, we added square footage, so it adds more time, and so we need to get that raised so that we can accommodate that. The youth pastor, we brought him on. We're excited about that. So that column has gone up, and we're going to be paying him at a half, like a part-time position. The pensions went up. Then the church phones went up because we also added the internet, and the youth pastors, they're the reason some of our budget's gone up, y'all. We knew that coming into it. So the capital improvement down at the bottom, went to 6,000, went down. And can you explain the reason we went down? I don't remember.
Our debt payment for the sign that was outside. And so we thought that we wanted to be more transparent about it. And so we pulled the debt out to its own category. So you can see how much we're paying for the sign. And we're 16 months away from having the sign paid off. And I'm trying to get a hold of them to find out what the payoff is, because if we can pay it off ahead of time, we'd like to do that.
Yep, so page 2 then goes to our delegate conference that Devin talked about got canceled, so we don't have those costs, so that's why the COVID-19 is there. The pastors retreat went up because we added pastors to go, so we have 2 more pastors that are going to be going along to the pastors retreat. It's not Mark and Terry. And that column for debt is the column that increased because it took it out of what he just talked about, so that's its own column now for the sign outside. Then the local missions, we've talked about it a couple times, but our goal is to raise $10,000 to be able to move out in the city and use that money out there. It's not necessarily something that we're just putting it in the budget so that we see that we want to do it, so that it's not forgotten about, and we can also take that money out and have it in a budget to be able to do that. So it's not something that if we go over that or under that, like I said earlier, this is just kind of numbers out there that we would like to reach. And children's ministry, we're excited because we're going to be doing revamping in the room and just getting curriculum, and we want to do things better. We want to just move and progress in doing more, and so we've brought that budget up so we have that available for us to do so. This year we don't have any expenses for VBS really, so that went to 0, unfortunately, but we have a little bit of expenses, but not much to count for. And there we are. The end of the page is our checking accounts balance at the end, our saving accounts, and then our total assets. I'm done.
Real quick, for everyone who's new in here, and if you're looking down through there and you're like, hey, what's this USF thing, and why did it go up by 50-some%? Anyone thinking that? Just me? Okay. So to answer my own question, USF is our United Stewardship Fund. We pay 12.25% of the previous year's tithes and offerings, and it goes to district, it goes to general church, and it goes to educational fund. So Oklahoma Wesleyan, which is the most amazing university in the entire universe, over in Bartlesville, they get 0.1% of that USF goes to educational facilities, and it goes to them as well. But because we grew and brought in more money last year, that's why it jumped up by $6,316. There's a couple of things on there that might go down. I talked to Dr. Smith last week, and he said that our insurance payment is going to go down by about $2,000 this year. but I haven't got the official number on there. So I left it where it was last year. We left as a board where it was. And that way, when it goes down, we can make that adjustment in our board. USF, I won't know the exact number that we're paying monthly on that until June 30th. So we just took a guesstimate of that. And I always guesstimate high on that so that when it comes in and it's lower, we celebrate and high five each other. But that's kind of where things are on that. So the budget proposal is before you. Do you have any questions? Any other questions on the budget proposal as it stands? Yes, Chad. Yes, it should. I'm not sure why that happened. I saw that after I printed it. Someone went in there and made the font white. But yeah, it's 6,000. Our church internet went up this year to cover live streaming to make sure we didn't have any hiccups in there. And so we now have 500 download speed and 50 upload speed. I talked to the city possibly next year. We might change. I'm on month to month with Sparklight with that. And that could, at any time when the city finally wires us through, we could knock them down because we would save money by going through the city for this building. Although we're on a 3-year contract for the other building, for the educational part. But we could knock that down to 3,300 and have this at 5,500 and still save money. And they'd have two separate drops. Does everyone know what a drop is? I thought Pastor Allen was asking me if I knew if I could explain a drop. He knows what a drop is. He's done drops. All right. Any other questions? And when I went to highlight Ashley's, that's when I found out that 6,000 was in white font. Is there a motion to accept the proposed budget? Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Sean Harkin, second. So a little bit later on, we're getting ready to close out our live stream here because we're going to go to the voting session and nobody wants to watch voting on live TV. But before we close out, I want to let people know, and because we'll have some new people coming into leadership this year, that we do a couple of budget reviews during the year and maybe make some modifications. This last year, we actually changed our budget 3 times in the middle of in midstream. We changed it once because we'd already approved the budget, and then that's when Volad happened to come up that Terry and I would possibly be moving. And that's when we said, hey, why don't we, instead of selling the parsonage, use it to lure in a youth pastor to come in? And we said, who would be crazy enough to come with the only hopes of having a place to live? Kenneth was crazy enough. Thank you, Kenneth. And so we knew that to add that in there. As we were coming down, I called the Reverend Devin Smith and said, hey, so let me backtrack. Our property at Brookfield isn't 100% sold yet. And they are in a 4-year lease with us, $1,000 a month. And then on top of that, they pay insurance. And so of that $1,000 a month, 1/3 of that $1,000 goes toward a future down payment if they decide to pay it. On top of that, they laid $30,000 down in escrow to be set for that down payment as well. I talked to Devin, and we had numerous conversations about the money that was being used over there. And I said, man, I'm not sure if we need it, and we didn't need it. Mark was just being girly and scared. Not that girls are scared, I was just being scared. And so I called Devin on the phone. I said, is there any way that for the next 6 months, we could get money against the sale of that property to go toward a housing allowance? And he said, absolutely. He said, let's take it to the board. And they came to the board, and we were able to do that. And so they sent us $6,000. Well, then in December, our tithes and offerings jumped by like 30%. I should have gotten a graph for that as well. The graph's amazing to watch. And so we didn't need that, but we just kept that in savings account. Actually, part of that money helped us buy some of the stuff that you see for the video stuff, but it was designated for rental allowance. So every month we would transfer $1,000 into savings to cover the $1,000 that they were paying us in rent. So we made an adjustment for that. And what was the other adjustment we made? Maybe we just made the one adjustment. So new leaders, we come in, usually about halfway through the year, we will look at the budget, and sometimes we'll either look at it as a group, or maybe a few of us will look at it and say, hey, we need to make an adjustment. This isn't high enough, or maybe we need to lower this and raise this because some other things came in. For example, Dennis came to me and said, hey, next year we want to do some extra things with trustee-wise, and one of the things is the parsonage that the church owns. The fence had been in disarray for many, many years. Terry had kept wanting to bring it before the board, but her pastor, who's a tyrant, kept saying no. And I said, we'll just put it off. Well, because God has blessed us, we're able to do that, and so we're installing a fence in the backyard for the safety of KJ. So those are the things. We talk about things like that, how we can adjust the budget and make things work. So at this point, online community, thank you guys for watching us so very much. Hope you guys have a great evening. We're praying for you. Keep praying for Connect Church and all the things that we can do. Have a great night. Bye-bye.